Gotham Season 3, Episode 17, The Primal Riddle. Much like last week's episode, I think this was a really good one. Definitely a lot of shocking moments as far as the deaths in this episode. I swear it was like every 10 minutes, this episode had like just a bunch of people dying in some random ways. So we have the beginning with Nygma where we get to see him really play it up. I love what they're doing with Riddler. I enjoyed it before. I'm enjoying it a lot now because he's just doing the whole theatrics. He's always like flipping his hat and putting it on. And he basically starts things off with this like grand scheme of a riddle throughout the whole episode. And he starts at the play. He kills the person backstage. Then he goes out. He makes his big announcement. And then he's like, I thought your performance was wooden. And I thought it was just like, that was it because he's just he's smart like that. And he has that sort of element to him where he actually likes the theater and things like that. And he would just take off like, all right, see you guys later when I go to kill somebody. But it's like, I thought it was wooden. And then he just impels him on stage and it's like, all right, and scene. And then he just leaves. And I was like, wow, I didn't think he'd actually kill that guy in the beginning. So that I thought was crazy. We have Penguin going through this episode. He's getting, well, they call him Fries, but of course, Mr. Freeze. And he's getting Firefly. So it's really cool to see the two of them, of course. Freeze is like, I don't know where the heck he was. I mean, this makes me think this episode had to have taken place over the course of like a full week because I don't know where the heck they traveled to that was so incredibly cold and it was like a snowy tundra, and then they went somewhere else that was like a still, a factory and stuff to get Firefly. So wherever they went, I'm sure that took quite a bit of time. Plus we find out that before they even went to pick up Freeze, they went to get his suit from like a Wayne Enterprises blacksite. So they were traveling quite a bit, and we only see them in like 3 little spots in this episode. It's like they get Freeze, they go to the plant to get Firefly, which is another one of the crazy, well, I guess it wasn't really a death, but this version of Firefly, which I thought was really cool because the character of Firefly normally can't like touch hot stuff. It's not like that where it's an actual mutant character. Firefly is just a pyromaniac normally, and that's kind of course how Firefly starts in this, but of course the Indian Hill thing was like, well, now she can actually touch like hot lava and things like that. And I loved it. I was like, that's cool. We see people pouring like, I don't know what the actual terms are, but they have the buckets pouring, molten lava or molten steel. And they're like, you can join us. We're like family now. Like we're both a couple of freaks. And I love the Penguin's like, I could kill your boss just to sweeten the deal. I was like, hey, if that helps. And she's like, nah. And she just dips her hand in some molten steel. It's like, hey, and just throws basically hot lava in this dude's face. And I was like, wow, that was a crazy sequence. So just throws it in his face and just is like, all right, we're out of here. So they leave. But I love that. It was very simple. Those are like just the little snippets, and it's leading up to them like really officially being back in the city by the end of the episode. So I was happy to see that. They see that Nygma was on the news and everything he did with the mayor. So it was very cool that by the end they are actually back at Penguin's place, and they're able to kind of rest up for the night, as he says, and the next day or the next episode we'll actually get to see them go out and kind of cause some chaos, which seems to be one of the parts in the promo where Firefly like hits a dude and like knocks him through a window. So very excited for that. It seemed like potentially the part where like it looked like somebody was grabbing one of the Court of Owls masks off a table and a vial hit the ground and this like smoke comes up. I would have to assume that has something to do with Ivy, but that could have been any random thing. Like it just seemed to fit her aesthetic, like as far as like powders and little potions. So I was like, I feel like that might be related to Ivy, but either way, it's some crazy stuff going on, so I'm excited for that. But this whole episode I thought was really good. Of course, Nygma being like the main antagonist actually led to quite a few different story elements because we get to see him and that little bit of a rivalry between him and Tabitha come back into play because Barbara's like, well, if anyone can help me out, it's Nygma. So that's what he ends up doing, of course, in his crazy theatrical Riddler way. And it ends up falling apart for him, sort of, because now he's actually working with the Court of Owls, because they mentioned they aren't actually going to kill him, they might actually be able to utilize him. And I'm sure he doesn't want to die, so I'm assuming that that's how things might play out. But I just thought it was really cool. It's like he's going through, we get these cool riddles, it's really simple stuff. The mayor's like, I'm totally fine here. And of course he was too stupid to even think about the fact that just some random person dropped off a bunch of high sugar like donuts and stuff. So he's eating those, he pours the pills out, all of them have question marks. So I was like, that was a cool way to do that. He has Barbara and Tabitha set up this bomb at a biker bar to just set some madness off when that happens. And that allows him to actually get the mayor, take out the other 2 guys, and that's how he sets up the little I was about to say press conference, but the little news piece that he did. So I just loved it. I thought it was really cool the way he was going about things. And it starts to fall apart for him because Tabitha hates him for what he put her and Butch through, who we do actually see in this episode. Because I mentioned before, I was like, I can't remember if Butch is alive or in prison or what, because I couldn't remember how things ended when Nygma was trying to like betray Penguin. I couldn't remember if he had it blamed on Butch completely at the end or how that played out. But Butch is fine, and it was just crazy. I was like, man, this is pretty interesting. And of course, that leads to some really big issues between Tabitha and Barbara, where Barbara kind of does kind of the normal thing where it's like, you have a group of people, but you have that one person that's all about power and screw my friends. And so she says that typical line that gets them busted, where it's like, if this happens, I can't be in charge. And then Tabitha's like, don't you mean we can't be in charge? And of course, she kind of just brushes it off and literally pushes past her and is like, okay, well, they're not going to be too close for too much longer. And Butch is like, how long is it going to take you to really see that she's changed? So of course Tabitha ends up yelling at Butch as well, and he's like, yeah, this is going to be a problem. So very excited to see how that ends up changing the dynamic. Of course, they've been somewhat of a trio, mostly a duo with Tabitha and Barbara, and Butch has like his weird thing where it's like he's kind of with Tabitha but not really. And then the stuff that was going on with Penguin and just all the craziness that was happening there, and then him being kidnapped and stuff by Nygma. He's in a very odd position at this point. Butch is just in like a really weird spot. But they kind of settled on some dynamics this season and the last season, and it's about to change again. So I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. Mostly this season, really, it's been kind of settled where Barbara actually was in charge of something, and Tabitha decided to join her, and Butch was there too. And now it's all falling apart all over again. So they're bringing back some change, and of course that's just all of them with Nygma. Like, that doesn't even count Penguin coming back into the fold and him trying to take over. So we still have that element coming back. So I'm very excited for where they're headed. But love the relationship stuff, and even the criminals fighting against each other and still trying to figure out who the court is and how to stop them from being in control. We have a bit of the Clone Bruce storyline in this episode where he actually tries to protect Selena, which I thought was a pretty interesting scene. That was another one of those moments where it was like either somebody's getting killed, getting like insanely wounded with some molten steel, attempted murder where she gets pushed out a window, all sorts of crazy stuff. But I like that scene, and he explains like the whole story. This is what's happening. It's like, I told you because I wanted to warn you, I wanted to save you. And so then she starts talking. It's like, you're not even a real human. I was like, wow, she's trying to get pushed out a window. And I only said that because I noticed the window was behind her. And as soon as she tried to leave, and he was like, I'm not going to let you tell Alfred, I was like, oh, he's actually about to push her through this window. And of course, in the middle of her sentence, he shoves her straight out. She hits the ground, and she seemingly dies. And they give us like a cool teaser at the end of this episode where she's going like, I guess, full-on Catwoman. Honestly, all it made me think of was the Halle Berry Catwoman movie, because I don't remember this happening from like, the animated Batman series. It's like, man, all I can think of is that, because it's someone dying and then all the cats walk over them and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's somewhere in the comics. I just don't ever remember seeing that as to how she got into becoming Catwoman. And obviously different universe anyway, so they can do whatever they want. But I was like, that's cool. It was kind of creepy, actually, like with the way they did the music. I was like, it's cool, but for some reason it was really creepy. It's like, this dark alley at night, and it's just a bunch of cats moving into like walk around this dead body. And I was like, that's actually really creepy, but it's going to lead to some cool stuff with Selena, I guess, having, her, I guess she'll have like actual power. I don't really know how they're going to do it, but that seems to be the route they're kind of headed. And I think that mostly because all I connected to is the Catwoman movie, and that's basically how that happened. So probably not the best reference to have, but that's all I can think of in my head, because it's like, that's the most clear image I have of like anyone being Catwoman dying, and then like there are a bunch of cats walking around them and suddenly they come back to life. So I'm like, okay, not the greatest thing to connect to, but I'm sure it'll be much, much better than the Catwoman movie. So I am still looking forward to what we're going to get from that. Bruce is still off, in the middle of nowhere, so we get to see him in the promo, and he does some more training. But Jim in this episode is kind of going through the motions of joining the court, and I'm assuming at some point, Selena, of course, coming back to life, she'll be able to get to Jim and get to Alfred, and they'll both end up finding out like, all right, this is what's happening with Bruce, this is what's happening with the city. Of course, Jim, knowing that Bruce isn't there, he knows that things are kind of moving even faster, I would have to assume. So it's like, all right, well, he wants a seat on the table. That's a part of the promo. So there's a lot of elements coming in these next couple episodes that I'm really looking forward to. But ultimately, I just enjoyed this one. Nygma was good. The relationships kind of falling apart because of the crazy things that he did, which ultimately was, when you really think about it, it was Penguin's fault. But Nygma did, like, you know, incorrectly torture two people, and then he still ended up using Butch as like the scapegoat for all the madness that was happening. So he did kind of go about it in like the most horrible way for other characters while he was trying to get what he wanted, which was just some answers. It's like, yeah, I can definitely see this. Like, you know, as smart as he is, it's like he had to torture me for that much, and, you know, and not really figure it out. So very excited to see where things go as far as the relationship for the villains and how the heck that's going to play out. Honestly, I thought Tabitha was probably going to get killed in this episode, because as soon as Barbara grabbed the thing, I thought she would break it on Tabitha's head or something like that, but she takes it. I didn't even really know this, but I'm pretty sure she picked up the bottle and bashed it over the guy's head, which was really rude. And then I was like, I think she's about to just straight up stab Tabitha, and that's pretty much it. Like, she's dead. Like, she's gonna stab her in the neck, and she's done for. But they just have an argument, and Barbara, you know, kind of walks off. If it was anybody else, I think she would have just gone straight for the stab, because that's just her character. But Tabitha, she's got that little soft spot for her, and Butch, maybe. I don't think so. Not too much, but it was just really good. Like, I love the way that played out and what it's kind of leading into. This episode in general led into some really good stuff for Selena. We get the hint that, of course, or well, not the hint, they just flat out say it, Clone Bruce is dying, so maybe he'll change his ways even more, because he told Selena. But he did decide to push her out a window, so we'll see what happens there. But I like the stuff that they showed off, and I love the stuff that they're hinting at. So we have Nygma working with the Court of Owls. We have, obviously, Penguin has his group now. They're back in Gotham by the end. Bruce is, like I said, still off in the wind, but Jim is now with the Court of Owls. So I feel like their story is going to connect sooner rather than later now that he's officially with them. And we'll see what extra information. I feel like they might give us some information that will hint towards like future seasons maybe, just because it's the Court of Owls and everything they know. I feel like we might actually get some random hints that won't have any relevance this season, but it might lead into some stuff where it's like, okay, that's kind of a reference to this or that, and that means we might actually get to see it in the future. So that's what I'm hoping we get, but even if we don't, I'm loving what they're doing with the Court of Owls. We get to see Hugo Strange come back, so that should be pretty fun as well. I'm pretty sure Barnes comes back in the next episode. I would assume he's like the only person that they really got with super strength, and it's a dude that breaks out of his strap. So I'm going to assume that was Barnes. He was also bald, so Barnes. But I really enjoyed this episode, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, at least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know how you guys felt about the Court of Owls in this episode and the way they kind of operated things, and also where them taking in Nygma might lead the series. Like, I don't know if the Court of Owls is going to survive even beyond this season, so it might not have that much of an effect with Nygma now working for them and having all these really insane resources, but I feel like it's going to have some sort of permanent effect, because he might get those resources, and even when the court is gone, he might actually be able to hold on to them or something like that, or he just might learn some really crazy stuff that he's able to use throughout the rest of the series or something like that. So I feel like there has to be some permanent advantage to his storyline, just because the Court of Owls is so big. I feel like there's no way they can't have like one little thing that affects him, you know, for the rest of the series. So that's my hope. If it didn't happen, I still think it would be fine, because Riddler's awesome already. So even without some new advantage or something, he'll still be a great character. But I would love to see that happen, just because the Court of Owls is that crazy and expansive. It just would make a lot of sense for him to somehow get something. They also teased, this is really random, but in the beginning of the episode, when he slams the sword down and he kind of leans on it, they kind of teased the fact that, you know, at some point he's going to have like his little Riddler staff and stuff like that. So I just thought that was actually really interesting. I was like, oh man, they kind of teased the little pose, but he was using a sword instead of like his question mark cane. But really good episode. Like I said, would love to know what you guys think is going to happen with the Court of Owls now working with Nygma, and of course kind of how they operated. They're definitely behind the scenes for this episode, but they still had some very serious relevance with Clone Bruce and just their ties in general, because they're like the overarching thing, not just as the villain, but as like characters and ambiance of the entire city now, because that's how big they are. But we'll love to know how you guys felt about that, and of course I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.